Sometimes the people we know closest to us make the biggest betrayal. When the people you put your heart into, the people you believed in with the purest of intentions, suddenly stab you in the back, it feels like the world is crashing down around you. But know that this story is not over. Every injustice has its reckoning one day. Now the scene is changing. The games that have been played on you, the traps that have been set for you are now being turned upside down. Every step they take secretly, every plan they devise behind your back will come at a heavy price. Because life leaves no one in debt. You don't need to take revenge into your own hands now. The universe will show its justice, karma will take center stage, and everyone will get what they deserve. The great transformation has begun. Your experience is the biggest proof that you are not powerless. As their mask falls, your light will shine even brighter. Watch now, write 33 in the comments. Now don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a giant family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and join us. Because this time the slap of fate will come harder than they could ever imagine. Are you ready? No one can stop your rise. Imagine a gardener stepping into a quiet orchard before dawn. There's dew on the grass, the sky's still a gentle navy, and all around are rows of trees that look lifeless in the dim light. But the gardener, holding only a single match and a candle, lights that flame, not to drive the darkness away, but to notice what's been hidden in plain sight. Each branch, each path, each stone on the ground comes alive with a quiet glow, as if the whole orchard was just waiting for that gentle spark to reveal the route home. In life, there are seasons just like this, times when it feels like everything around you is too dense, too tangled, too unknown. But what if the darkness wasn't there to swallow you? What if it was just waiting for you to discover that secret passage, meant for your feet alone? So often, it seems like what's happening is meant to hem you in, to box you up and press you down, but those very moments turn out to be the doorways. See, you weren't abandoned in the dark, you were handed a ticket to the front row of your own transformation. Some folks call it a setback, but for the chosen, it's a setup, a preparation for the main event. The world may throw up walls and call them obstacles, but God uses those same bricks to build a stage just high enough for everyone to see His glory shining through you. When the spotlight of destiny hits, it doesn't matter how long you sat backstage or how many doubted you'd ever make an entrance. The time comes when the curtain opens and you realize, this whole time, heaven was orchestrating a moment that only you could fill. There's a power in being willing to walk out into the unknown with nothing but faith in your pocket and purpose in your heart. You might think you're just carrying a little candle, trembling in the wind. But that tiny flame, friend, holds the power to reveal entire landscapes. While others huddle in their corners waiting for sunrise, you dare to step out, letting that light catch on every promise God ever spoke over your life. The ground you feared was a trap becomes a launching pad. The shadows you thought would swallow you are now the backdrop for your testimony. Some people will watch you and shake their heads, wondering how you keep pressing forward when the path isn't clear. But what they don't see is the guidance you carry inside. The Holy Spirit, whispering like a breeze through those orchard trees, reminds you that you're never lost when you're led by divine intention. In a world chasing spotlights and applause, the chosen one discovers their greatest strength comes not from the world's approval but from the quiet assurance that every step has already been ordered. You see, destiny never calls when it's convenient. The call always comes when you're surrounded by the ordinary, when the field looks empty and the way ahead seems unmarked. But that's exactly how heaven works. God loves to show up when it seems least likely, lighting up the path for those who dare to believe there's more. And every challenge, every detour, every night spent walking by the flicker of faith becomes part of a story no one can take from you. Let's be honest, most people shy away from uncertainty. They'd rather stand still in the familiar than risk stepping out into mystery. But you, chosen one, you were built for more than safe ground. There's a reason your soul never settled for smallness. While others wait for a clear sign, you answer with a simple yes to the invitation only your spirit could hear. And with every step, the scenery shifts, new opportunities open, and blessings that were once hidden spring up beneath your feet. When you look back on these moments, you won't remember the fear as much as you'll remember the faith it took to keep moving. The obstacles you thought would break you turned out to be the scaffolding for your breakthrough. What the world saw as a setback was actually the first note in your symphony of victory. That's the beauty of being called for something higher. You learn that every so-called trap is just a turning point, and every stretch of darkness is a canvas for God's light to shine through your life. Are you a story lover or a truth seeker? Subscribe and be both. So don't be surprised if you find yourself in places others are afraid to go. Don't count it strange if you're handed a map with no directions and told to trust the one who drew it. Every chosen one learns this secret. Your journey was never about avoiding the night. It was about discovering how to light it up from the inside out. And as you keep walking, candle in hand, you realize that the orchard is fuller than you thought, the harvest richer than you hoped, and the path ahead paved with a purpose that could only belong to you. Think of a farmer walking out before dawn, holding a single seed in his hand. The field looks empty, the soil's cold, and not a soul expects anything to change overnight. But when that seed touches the ground, a process begins that no eye can follow, a silent chain reaction beneath the surface. Roots push downward, stems press upward, and before long what started with one quiet decision is a field bursting with harvest. That's how it is with the decisions you make in faith. You may not see the fullness in the beginning, but every act of courage plants something powerful in the invisible, something heaven is waiting to multiply. There comes a moment in every life where it feels like all of heaven is holding its breath, waiting for you to step forward. It's not the big public moves that trigger the breakthrough. It's the little private yes. The choice to show up, to let your light spill out, to refuse to hide what God put in you. When you stop apologizing for being exactly who you are, when you let your gifts out into the open, you become like a pebble cast into a silent lake. At first, the only evidence is a small splash, but the ripples keep moving, farther and wider than you could ever imagine. Those ripples touch shores you will never see, changing the very landscape of your life and the lives around you. So many times, those who wanted to hold you back, those who tried to hush your voice or dampen your fire, actually wound up setting the stage for your elevation. There's a secret the wise never forget. When the world pushes you down, God is already planning how to lift you higher. The very opposition that was designed to break your spirit becomes the lever He uses to launch you forward. It's almost as if the universe has been keeping a ledger, counting every silent tear, every overlooked effort, and when you finally decide to stand tall, it's payback season in the best possible way. Maybe you remember a season when you felt the pressure to shrink, when the expectations of others pressed in, whispering that you were too much, too loud, too different. But somewhere inside, a quiet courage took root. You stopped pretending you were average. You stopped asking permission to be gifted. With one brave step, you said yes to the assignment on your life, and that's when the miracles started moving. Some folks don't realize how a single moment of faith can set off 1,000 blessings. You don't need a parade or a spotlight, just the boldness to live the truth God put in your bones. You may think your yes is small, but to heaven, it's the key that opens floodgates. Suddenly, doors swing wide that you couldn't have forced open. People you never met show up to help. Problems that felt like mountains get rolled away like pebbles. The miracles that follow obedience are never accidental. They are orchestrated, rehearsed, and waiting for the signal. Your courage is the downbeat that sets the whole orchestra into motion. Sometimes you'll notice, after you've said yes, that the same schemes that were supposed to silence you actually created a spotlight. The very critics who gossiped about your journey end up spreading the news of your resilience. Plots to discredit you instead put your story in the mouths of those who never knew your name. What the enemy meant for harm, God transforms into a testimony so big nobody can ignore it. You've probably seen it before. Those who dig a ditch for the righteous end up falling in themselves. The universe isn't blind. What's done in secret always finds its way to the surface, and when you keep choosing to walk upright, blessing has a way of tracking you down. It's as if every no the world gave you built up interest, and when the timing was right, all the blessings came home at once. The inheritance you thought was lost shows up right on time, multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. In those moments where you felt invisible, you were actually being reserved for a bigger reveal. Sometimes God hides His brightest lights for a season, Not because you're being punished, but because he's preparing a grand unveiling. The ripples you started with your faith, your honesty, your open heart, they don't just affect your life. They're shaping destinies, shifting families, changing atmospheres wherever you go. Picture a river running quietly beneath the ground. People may not see it, but when a well is dug in the right place, the water rises up to quench the thirst of many. Your decision to live boldly, to give your gift freely, is like digging that well. The refreshment that flows out isn't just for you. It's for your children, your neighbors, your community, and every stranger thirsty for hope. Your obedience creates an oasis in a weary land. Your courage breaks a drought that others thought would never end. So don't be surprised when unexpected opportunities start falling into your lap. Don't count it strange when former critics become silent, or when folks who once overlooked you now seek your wisdom. The harvest that comes from walking in your purpose is too big to contain. And when people ask how it happened, you'll know the truth. It started with a simple decision. A mustard seed of faith dropped into the soil of your spirit, watered by trust, and grown into a tree that others now rest under. Let them talk. Let them wonder. The ones who plotted to keep you down will one day realize they were only clearing the stage for your elevation. The universe loves a comeback, and God specializes in turnarounds so miraculous that even your doubters will have to admit there's a higher hand at work. Every time you choose to live authentically, to pour out your heart, to refuse to dim your shine, you multiply the blessings waiting in the wings. The ripples from your faith are still spreading, still touching lives, still calling in miracles you haven't even dreamed of yet. So stand tall, chosen one. The orchestra of heaven is tuned and waiting, and every time you step out in faith, you set off a symphony of miracles that won't be silenced. Your story is living proof. What begins with one act of boldness can shake the heavens, open the earth, and turn every plot against you into a pathway to blessing. Imagine a mountain lake resting under a layer of winter ice. To the hurried eye, it looks as though nothing is moving, nothing is growing, as if the world itself is standing still. But beneath that frozen surface, life is quietly at work, waters shifting, currents rearranging, setting the stage for spring's explosion of color and renewal. That's the beauty of waiting with intention. All the energy, all the wisdom, all the lessons are gathering strength where nobody's watching, storing up a bounty that can't be measured in the cold season. It's easy to live in a world that misunderstands the power of waiting. Folks see you keeping calm, not rushing, not clapping back, and they call it weakness or surrender. But what they don't see is the sacred inventory being built within you. Every time someone doubted you, every offhand remark, every moment you were overlooked, the soil of your spirit collected it all, not to build up a case against others, but to become the fertile ground for your breakthrough. While others rushed to make noise, you were quietly learning, listening, growing roots that would one day break through stone. There's a heavenly wisdom in those who know how to let things marinate. Like a wise elder collecting stories, or a sower tucking seeds into chilly earth, you held onto the lessons, storing them where no storm could reach. You didn't need to fight every battle or answer every slight. Instead, you became like a reservoir, filling drop by drop, setback by setback, lesson by lesson, until you had gathered enough momentum for the tide to turn in your favor. Some may think nothing's happening during those long seasons of quiet. They don't realize the way heaven's arithmetic works. In God's math, nothing is wasted. Every snub, every rolled eye, every whisper behind your back is counted and recorded, not to punish, but to set you up for the greatest reversal anyone's ever seen. There are guardians, unseen, unwavering, who keep watch over every deposit made into your life. While others chase applause or approval, you're being prepared in the background for something so big, it can't be measured by surface glances. What looks like stillness to the outside world is actually the gathering of thunderclouds before a downpour. Patience isn't weakness, it's the hidden reservoir that fills up until it bursts forth in blessing. While people around you confused your calm for complacency, every experience was being cataloged by hands invisible to the human eye, marked down for the day your name would be called, your gifts revealed, and your reward delivered. The world loves speed and spectacle, but there's a supernatural power in those who can wait, who can endure, who can keep showing up even when the harvest seems far off. You didn't chase after every insult, didn't fight every battle, didn't try to prove your worth to those who couldn't see it. Instead, you allowed wisdom to do its work, knowing that the fullness of time always brings forth what's been planted in faith. There's a ledger being kept, not by those who judge with human eyes, but by forces who know the depth of your struggle and the height of your calling. You might not see the scales tipping just yet, but every moment you chose to rise above, every act of kindness that was ignored, every tear that slipped down in prayer, none of it has gone unnoticed. All of it is being counted, not for accusation, but as evidence of your elevation. As the gardener trusts that buried seeds will one day break through frozen ground, so too can you trust that your patience is preparing the way for a future harvest. The winter of waiting always gives way to the spring of fulfillment. There's coming a season where the same ones who overlooked you will marvel at your growth. The same voices that whispered against you will have to acknowledge the fruit that came from your quiet faithfulness. There is nothing passive about holy patience. It's the mark of the chosen, the trait of those anointed for greater things. It takes more strength to be silent in the face of provocation than to answer every critic. It takes divine confidence to walk steady when the world is running wild. But that's what sets you apart. You are not ordinary. You're being prepared by hands that measure not just action, but intention and endurance. In the unseen, there are keepers of destiny who have written down every overlooked moment, every unreturned call, every dream that was put on hold for another's comfort. This isn't about revenge, it's about justice and restoration. When the time is right, all those small things become the stones that build your foundation, the oil that anoints your head for leadership, the treasure that funds your next season. Just as a tree stores energy all winter so it can burst into bloom at the appointed time, you are being readied for a season where everything that was hidden will come into the light. You may have felt forgotten, but you were only being safeguarded for your grand reveal. When the gates open, when the trumpet sounds, when your opportunity arrives, the world will see what God saw all along. A soul seasoned by waiting, a heart strengthened by endurance, and a destiny ready to be fulfilled. And here's the promise: what you're storing now is not just for you. The patience you've shown, the wisdom you've gathered, the lessons you've buried deep, they're going to bless generations. Your story will be the blueprint for others who need to know that waiting is not wasting. That storing up wisdom is not losing time. That the ledgers kept in silence will one day be read aloud for all to see. Behind every miracle is a message. Subscribe and discover them with us. Don't let the world's misunderstanding of patience steal your joy. Every second you spent believing when there was nothing to see is about to return to you multiplied, pressed down, and running over. When your breakthrough comes, it will be so undeniable that even your doubters will have to call it a miracle. You're not behind, you're being positioned. You're not forgotten, you're being protected. Every lesson, every slight, every cold shoulder is fertilizer for the garden God is about to display in your life. So keep tending to your soul. Keep watering your faith. Keep waiting with expectancy, because the one who keeps the ledger is also the one who sends the harvest. When your season comes, there will be no doubt that the patience you carried was the very thing that unlocked the blessing the world couldn't see coming. There's a special kind of victory that moves through a life not like thunder or a drumline but like a gentle dawn spilling over a sleeping valley. Think of how the first rays of morning reach quietly into every shadow, not shouting their presence but softly transforming the world just by showing up. In a universe obsessed with noise and attention, the real miracles often slip in on tiptoe, too subtle for the brash, too sacred for the hurried. In seasons where some run around, weaving stories and setting traps, the ones anchored in truth become a living invitation for hope to rise. It's like a single candle lighting up a cathedral, small in itself, but powerful enough to shift the atmosphere for everyone inside. When you choose to root yourself in what's real, to hold your ground even as others build towers of pretense, you begin to sing a note that can't be drowned out by the loudest lies. It's as if heaven itself turns up the volume on your heart's true song. Not every win demands an audience. There are times when triumph is like a hidden river beneath the desert, carving its path, bringing life to places written off as barren. While schemes swirl above, a soul that refuses to bend to falsehood quietly changes the landscape. No parade marks these moments, but the change is undeniable. Integrity doesn't shout, it stands still while storms pass, and somehow, when the dust settles, it's the only thing left standing. You don't need a microphone to turn the tide. Sometimes, just telling the truth is enough to cause a landslide. There's a strength that lives in honesty, a kind of strength that no critic or manipulator can unseat. People may mock the soft answer, or dismiss the one who refuses to play dirty, but when the smoke clears, it's the clean hands and the clear eyes that inherit the sunrise. Fire in your spirit, that holy glow that won't go out, is stronger than any plot hatched in secret meetings. The world celebrates the one who can outshout or outsmart their enemies, but the universe bows to the one who can outlast them. When you show up day after day, refusing to abandon your convictions, it's like planting a flag on a mountain that can't be shaken. Others may gather in hidden rooms and plan their moves, but truth is like bedrock. It outlasts every temporary structure built on sand. Think about how a seed works. It goes underground, out of sight, and everyone forgets it. But in time, when the season is right, it splits the earth open and changes the scenery for good. In the same way, your unwavering honesty, your decision to stay faithful to your calling, is breaking through old barriers, even if nobody claps for you at first. Victory, when it comes from the hand of God, doesn't need to announce itself. It reveals itself, steadily, unavoidably, like light chasing away the chill of night. While others twist the truth and scramble for control, you are writing a legacy that can't be faked or taken away. Each choice to stand tall, each refusal to compromise, is another line in the song the world will one day sing in your honor. There's something holy about a win that doesn't trample others to get ahead. You don't need to break the rules or join in the mudslinging to taste the goodness of destiny. In fact, the road to real victory is often the quiet one, paved with moments when you simply kept showing up, telling the truth, and believing that integrity would bring its own reward. Picture the way the sun rises, not all at once, but degree by degree, it lifts the darkness, coloring the world in gold. Your breakthrough might arrive quietly, but it will cover everything, revealing just how much has changed in the places nobody thought to look. Every time you chose light over shadow, love over spite, you wrote a verse in a song that will echo for generations. Let this be your confidence. What's done in truth may take longer, may look smaller at first, but it is unstoppable. You're not fighting for a headline, you're building something eternal. While the clamor of this world comes and goes, the one who stands rooted in the divine is never uprooted. Those who thought they could outmaneuver the chosen soon realize there's a power moving for you that can't be bribed, bought, or intimidated. It's not just about you. Your sunrise is making way for others too. People who have wandered in the dark are about to see hope lighting up on the horizon of their own lives, inspired by your example. Your quiet wins are seeds that will sprout into harvests you may never see, but heaven will count every single one. So, let them play their games, let them shuffle the pieces behind closed doors. As long as you keep showing up with clean hands, a pure heart, and a faith that won't let go, you're setting the stage for a story no storm can erase. In a universe that rewards truth-tellers and keeps watch over the faithful, your victory is not just inevitable, it's already underway, painting the morning sky with colors nobody else could mix. Revelation arrives in strange clothing. What appears as abandonment is often a secret handshake from heaven, a sign that the real supporters are the ones who see beyond the storm. When someone who once stood against you pivots, it is not a mere coincidence but a chess move authored by wisdom itself. Every trial attracts its own witnesses. As storms grow, so do the eyes watching, and eventually, those with the power to shift outcomes cannot remain on the sidelines. A veteran in the spiritual battlefield, attuned to truth's frequency, is drawn to act, not out of curiosity, but out of a calling to justice. Unraveling doesn't always start with thunder. Sometimes, it is the gentle tug of thread that pulls apart an entire tapestry of deceit. Diligent hands gather every document, every whisper, every trace, and piece by piece, the puzzle exposes the intent behind the chaos. True motives eventually surface the way oil rises to the top of still water. All the posturing and self-justification can't hide envy's bitter taste. Jealousy, dressed up as principle, is always outed by the fragrance of its fruit. When the truth steps forward, it doesn't need a crowd. The first to admit error is often the one who saw the light just in time. Evidence, a name in a log, a phrase in a letter, a turn in a story, unravels decades of lies in a single heartbeat. No alliance made in darkness can withstand the dawn. When plans collapse, those who crafted them turn on each other, searching for an escape from a fire of their own making. Betrayal reveals itself most clearly in the hour of reckoning. Turning tables is the hallmark of divine justice. As blame rebounds and accusations turn inward, the original plan is forgotten, and what was meant for harm ends up exposing deeper rot within the camp of the adversary. Cunning schemes always leave fingerprints. Devices meant to ensnare others become shackles for those who set the trap. When hidden cameras and secret recordings surface, the net closes in, and what was whispered is shouted from the rooftops. There's a moment when masks fall and the room goes quiet as reality lands like a bell tolling midnight. Defenses crumble under the weight of proof, and a parade of explanations does nothing to halt the oncoming tide. Speechless faces bear witness to the collapse of their own illusions. When the very tools meant to wound are played back as evidence, intent cannot be hidden. The echo of confession fills every corner, leaving no safe place for blame. When the scales of justice tip, it happens with the swiftness of an eagle's descent. The fallout is rapid, doors close, badges are surrendered, names are erased from the rolls. The game is over and a new chapter begins. What once felt like friendship evaporates in the glare of exposure. As stories spread, even those who benefited from duplicity turn away. The well runs dry, and the only thing left to drink is the truth. Invisible law governs what earthly courts can't. Life's winds shift, unexplained obstacles appear, and the blessings that seemed certain slip through the fingers of those who tried to curse what was always blessed. Plans wither, and doors that once opened easily become barricaded by unseen hands. There's a spiritual mathematics at work. For every door closed in anger, another opens in favor. Where bitterness blocks a path, joy paves another. Resources that vanished for one reappear for another. The world spins, but favor stands still over the one marked by destiny. A victory in one soul becomes a tidal wave for an entire lineage. What was chained for generations snaps in a moment of faith. The old narratives, stories of defeat, cycles of lack, collapse, replaced by an inheritance no one can steal. Provision flows from unexpected springs when one's heart is right. Money, connections, and opportunities come riding on the wind, arriving just in time, multiplying with every act of integrity. The economy of heaven never matches the stock market. Discernment transforms into a spotlight that reveals every hidden agenda. What once took months to uncover is now visible in a single glance. Truth is a magnet, falsehood flees at its presence. In every continent and every language, testimonies travel. A tale of resilience, of overcoming, lights up the hearts of strangers across the globe. Boardrooms, classrooms, and sanctuaries rewrite their policies and teachings to prevent future wounds. Communities breathe easier when manipulation exits. Productivity climbs, smiles return, and the old games fade into legend. A ripple of relief moves through the halls, replacing anxiety with hope. A living witness stands taller than any argument. There's an energy that radiates, transforming every room and repelling harm before it can settle. The presence of one soul, healed and unashamed, becomes a sanctuary for many. There is balance woven into the universe. Every attempt to wound creates a doorway for blessing. Losses suffered by one return tenfold as gains for another. Friends lost are replaced by champions. The tide cannot help but turn. The unraveling of an adversary's plans brings a lesson. Cosmic law is not fooled by appearances. Schemes crafted in darkness inevitably explode under the weight of truth, leaving bewilderment and awe in their wake. Hidden treasures within are often revealed under pressure. Healing gifts, dormant and unnoticed, are awakened by hardship. What once helped only one becomes a salve for the multitudes. Looking for inspiration and intrigue? Subscribe and start your quest. Every trial contains a commission. The process of refining is never just for survival but for a sacred assignment, protecting, guiding, and awakening others to the same power. Institutions now reach out, eager to learn. Schools record the story, news outlets broadcast the lesson, organizations consult for guidance, each wanting a piece of the wisdom forged in adversity. Ideas that used to flicker now burn like torches, illuminating the way. Plans assemble themselves, and the universe brings the right pieces together at exactly the right time. The curriculum of triumph becomes the new textbook. Universities and leaders pass along the story, so others can find their own strength in struggle. Standing on a new foundation, certainty replaces old doubt. The knowledge of belonging and protection by higher forces is now unshakable. What once worked quietly now acts boldly. Protection is visible, intervention is immediate, and the response to any new threat is swifter than ever before. Finally, each scar, each victory, each lesson becomes an anthem of inspiration. The story is sung in the ears of all who wonder if justice is real. Every obstacle, every disrespect, is now a banner of hope and warning. Never underestimate the endurance of the chosen.